gentlemen, this is the very first Black Women in Radio Authors Summit! I am so excited to get you guys together. We have been planning this for quite a while and wanting really to make sure that we represent our Black authors in a way that captures other people's attention, also perhaps gets you to, sell a few more books. We really wanted to let people know that there are other Black women in radio who are authors. And I know what the struggle is like to get noticed, to promote your book, to find a platform that even cares about your book, right? And I thought, we can promote ourselves.
Yes, right, honey. Sister's on the move.
So that's how this was born. I was like, let me pull my sisters together who have books, and let's get together and have this summit. So thank you so very much to each and every one for saying yes. Everybody that I asked to come on board, just about said yes. So thank you so much.
Thank you for my check, girl.
I know, right? This is all about pulling in some coins too.
Right.
But during COVID, I don't know about you guys, but I love traveling and doing workshops with my book and
not happening.
No. So we have to be innovative, and here we are. So what I would love to do is I'd love for each one of you to introduce yourself, and there's a couple of pieces to this. I want you to say your name, where you're from, and a little summary about radio, your background, okay? And if you can remember, or we'll remind you, say the name of your book. Say the name of your book. So I'll go first to give you an example. I'm Felisha Love. I'm the president of Black Women in Radio and founder. And I was born in Chicago, educated in St. Louis, and transformed in Atlanta. That's what I like to say. I started in radio at Lindenwood University in St. Charles, Missouri in 1984, and co-hosted about 5 morning shows in Atlanta. It was with my former leading men, Art Terrell and Brian Cameron, Harry Lyles, Brian Castle, Mike Jameson. I mentioned Ryan. Yeah, so I have been around for a little bit in Atlanta. Most of my career, the bulk of it, was in Atlanta. And I also did radio in Cincinnati at the Wiz, at Felisha Love, Your Nighttime Girlfriend. I don't know what I was thinking about there, but that was my handle. And I also did traffic, quite a bit of traffic reports throughout the years, because I had points in my life where there was a little hiatus, hence the book. But so I did traffic reporting sometimes for iHeart and Tom Joyner Morning Show, about 5 different markets within iHeart. They had us working hard. Anybody work for iHeart in traffic? Can I tell you, it was like throwing kerosene on your body and lighting yourself on fire. It was crazy.
Girl, it can't be that bad.
Can I tell you, I've never talked that much in my life. I remember the first week that I was there, I was like, they figured out how to suck all the fun out of radio. That was ridiculous. I know we had, between Sirius and other stations, I had a report. I probably had about 20 reports an hour.
Oh, good.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a lot.
Insane.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's
so anyway, that's my little bit in radio. Now, who wants to go first? This is nice and loose and conversational and friendly. So who would like to go next? Introduce yourself.
I'll go next.
Okay.
My name is Angela Green, and I have worked in radio since 1986. I started, all of my radio career experience has been in the Atlanta market. I started at WCLK. I worked at a now defunct station called Fox 97. I worked at B98.5. I worked at V103. I worked at KISS 104 twice. I worked at WCLK twice. And I did traffic also with Felicia. Phil and I worked at V103 together and also at Metro Networks together. We did traffic together. I currently host a show called Jazz Flavors on the Praise Factor Network. It's a gospel platform, but they've accepted Jazz Flavors. My contemporary jazz show is their first jazz show on their platform. And I think I'm going to be going back to one of those stations like tomorrow, but I ain't going to say nothing yet. I'm going to wait till I sign on the dotted line.
I know
first.
that's right. You're going to sign on that dotted line.
Yes, but rumor has it I'm going to be going back somewhere where I came from. So I have worked in radio for a very long time. I've also done print work at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. So I write as well. So I'm a writer also. And I am the author of Unnecessary Roughness, which is a true story, the story of a mother's fight for justice. So we'll be talking about that. And that's it. That's who I am in a nutshell. And I'm so happy to be here with all of you like-minded ladies.
Oh, hold on.
Can't hear you. Oh. What?
I muted myself.
Oh, okay. I was like, is it me?
No, I was just going to say Angela is also a board member. She is the director of public relations and media affairs for Black Women in Radio as well.
Yes,
cool.
Yeah,
absolutely.
my right hand. Woo! She and I have been in the trenches. Who's next? Oh, come on.
Come on, y'all. Don't be shy.
I'll go, child. Okay. Hello, darlings. My name is Sasha the Diva. And folks always ask me about the name Sasha the Diva. That name was given to me by my father when I was 3, because I would always get in front of a mirror with utensils and I was mimicking Barbara Walters. Because see, back then it was no black people on television. So I mimicked what I saw. And my dad was like, look at my little diva, Sasha the Diva. And that's where my name comes from.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it really is. I've been doing radio forever. When people ask me how many years, I'm like, none of your business. Because you always try to figure out my age, child. I've been doing this forever. I have very humble beginnings. Yes. I interned. They were saying, girl, go get me some coffee. I was getting the cream and sugar and donuts. I was working in the promotions department, putting on that crazy hot ass, done sweat my hair out in 100-degree weather. I didn't care because I was doing radio. My first job, I had to go way to Milford, Delaware, and I was working overnights, making $6 an hour, staying in a small apartment, no furniture, eating tuna fish and crackers and Kool-Aid every day to get.
Those are humble beginnings.
Honey, I would not take it back, because through my internship and working in that country town, I learned so much about radio. Yeah. And then in that country town is when I got my first opportunity to go in a top 20 market. I remember getting the phone call going, oh my God, you're gonna get me there, right? Telling them they're gonna have to talk to my lawyer. I know what the hell I was saying, but it worked out, okay? And since then, I've been doing radio forever. My homes have been in Baltimore, DC, Atlanta. Spent a lot of time in Atlanta with my foundation in radio, those relationships. And now God has given me the opportunity to be a national radio host with Rick and Sasha in the mornings. Thank you, guys. Wow. George Wilborn. So right now we are hitting 40 plus radio stations. Thank God for Tom Joyner and what he brought to us. But what is happening now, women are opportunities. The doors are opening more and more for us. So I thank God for the opportunity. This is where I am now. My book is called Blended But Not Broken. For those who did not know, I was on Iyanla Van Zandt with my crazy ass family, and I was ready to get a damn divorce. But Iyanla came in, saved my marriage and saved my family. And that's when I decided to write the book, Blended But Not Broken. That's
beautiful. Yes. That is a wonderful story. Who's next? That was great, Sasha. I love it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Come on, don't be shy.
I'll go next. So I have a blended, piggybacking off of your book, I have a blended career. For it's 21, I guess about 21 years, 22 years, I've worked in the music industry as a whole. As a whole, I don't want the word to sound weird.
It did, because that's what I thought.
No, not that.
Like, what?
Let me pronounce my words better. A whole in its entirety.
Got it.
But I started out as working for a record company. So progressed from an A&R director, a gospel label, Ty Scott Records, and progressed to the label director for the label for so many years. And I branched out on my own with my own company, Tracy 7, pretty much, working for labels, artists, managing careers of artists. Around 2011 is when, in the midst of me still working on the record side, I started, I guess, tiptoeing in radio. And I worked I did basically on-air segments for a syndicated network, Rejoice Musical Soul Food, also a guest segment for 1100 AM in Atlanta. I did that weekly. And then later on, it transitioned into me having my own show, the Artist Stage radio show for an online station here in Chicago. And that later transition, my show was on WYCA, Rejoice 102.3 FM here. And later I became the program director, which I currently am now for Rejoice 102.3 FM.
Go, girl.
Just that's what says a blended thing going on. So I went from, dealing with reaching out to radio for trying to get my music played for the artist, becoming the person on the other side of it, on air and as a PD. So that's why I say it's a totality over 20-something years.
And you look 15, just so you know.
Yeah, they say 20 years, aren't you?
You look good, girl.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I am. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, so I do have a book, but I'm 42 years old, about to be 43 next Monday.
All right.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, but I do have a book. So my book is Own Your Moment and Take the Stage. There's my little face down there. And it's called Laying the Foundation for a Successful Music Career.
Beautiful.
So it's my journey when I was younger and helping artists. And it's for music artists, but anyone pursuing any career of how to lay the foundation first before you step out.
So needed. So needed. Thank you so much. Who's next?
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'll go.
Exciting backgrounds. I love it.
I know, right?
All right. So I'll go. Is that good?
Yes.
Hey to every last one of you, brilliant, ass, dynamic, phenomenal. See, I've got more leaves on the ground than the tree, so I can say what's on my mind. And when you talk about negotiating contracts and all that time and all that kind of thing, my thing is if not now, when? And that's what led me to some of my journey. So let me just say how incredible it is to be in this forum with some of the baddest sisters in the business. And I remember the Jack the Rapper conferences and the BWIR conferences when we used to have these kind of outlets. So Felicia, thank you to you for pulling us together, because we need to do more of this. And I talk to young women all the time about getting in the business, whether to get in the business. And I get kind of caught as to what I should say to them. And I just say, let God lead you, which is what happened to me. So I started a long time ago. I was at Morgan State University. I was a pre-med major and took anatomy and physiology. Did not have the stomach for it. They wanted us to dissect the squirrel. I was like, I'm gonna get an F on this. My next class was a speech communications class, and Kwaisi and Fume was in there. WEAA was the college radio station. I walked down the hall, I looked, I was like, that looked like it's nice to do. And literally walked in there for an internship. I was a junior in college. I stayed an extra semester just to switch my major over. And it was the best decision I've ever made in my life. So to this day, Kwaisi is still a mentor to me. I still reach out to him. I'm a part of the Alumni Association, and thank God I had the opportunity to say to him how impactful he was, because he had a show called Two-Way Talk.
He
and I was like,
did.
I can talk. I can do that, you know. And just through the grace of God, I ended up going to RAP, a little AM radio station, but it was a heritage station at the time. In 82, left there, went to K97.5 in Raleigh, Durham, worked for Cy Young. Michael Saunders called me on the request line from Charlotte. Charlotte was the big wig at the time and he said, "This is Michael Saunders. I want you to come to Charlotte." I was like, "You lying. This is not Michael Saunders." I hung up. I said, he called back. I said, "Give me a number and I'll call the front desk." Called the front desk, went up there to hang out with Michael, one of the greatest relationships I had. He saw enough in me to make me his APD after a couple of years. Worked with Skip Murphy, who was our morning guy at the time, which was wonderful. Went to the Soul Train Music Awards and met Steve Hegwood at an event. Steve Hegwood was at WJLB in Detroit and said, you know, "How would you like to come to Detroit?" I only knew about Motown and the Lions. I went blind and started working there at Heritage Station, made the transition from JLB and went over to Mix 92.3. Back in 2013, I was fired and hired in the same day. And fired and hired in the same day. Number one, 400% over revenue, fired and hired in the same day, and promoted to move to Philadelphia. So I now on the air in Philly doing afternoons at WDAS in Philadelphia, another heritage radio station, and Mix 92.3, and part of the iHeartRadio network, which is 22 stations around the country. So, you know, tired, yeah, but it's all good. And I'll go back to 99 when thinking about writing my book. I was going through a divorce. It was a real tumultuous situation. I always wanted to do it. I believe that smart people read. I love to read. I like to write. But I never thought that I really wanted to be an author. And a friend of mine reached out to me and said, "You should do a book and do one autobiographical." So I did that, and it's called Frankie, Darcell, A Story to Tell. My divorce was really tumultuous. It was in the newspaper, and the toughest chapter for me to write was if I were going to tell my truth about everything else, I had to tell my truth about that. And when you talk about doing something autobiographical, you know, when I saw the person open the first page, I thought, wow, my stuff is out there. But I love the book. I loved what I did. This is that one. This was the one I did in 99. And in 2004, because I did topics on the air every day, I did something called Conversations for Sisters Only. So I wrote this one in 2004. And in 2018, I wrote a stage play, which I'm excited about because I've done theater and I did theater in college. So I took the book and I was writing. And I thought, you know, what do I want to, you know, do the stage play about? So I did it behind the story of Conversations for Sisters Only. We sold out 4 nights in Philadelphia. And COVID kicked in. We had to cancel another run that week. But, you know, God is good. And, you know, radio is one of the best decisions I've ever made. And, you know, at this stage and age, for me, you know, it's thinking about, I shouldn't say that. Anyway, hey, y'all.
You know I want to know. Now that you said
So it's all good, and I'm glad to be here hanging out with y'all.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Frankie. What a story. Oh, Monique.
Hey, girl.
Hey.
Thanks so much. It's so awesome. I'm so excited to be here. I'm originally from Chicago, and I now live in Puerto Rico, but I was born and raised in Chicago, so got stuff in common with several of you all. And my radio career started at WVON 1690 AM. I started there in the mid-1990s as an intern and worked my butt off. And eventually they hired me to be the news director and then later the host of the midday talk show. WVON is a talk station. It is the bedrock of urban talk radio in Chicago. Anybody who is anybody came to WVON to share their story. And it was a phenomenal experience for me to not only work there, but when I was not working at WVON, I had the opportunity to work at WGCI FM, where I worked with Rick Party. And
girl.
we had some fun. And I also worked with Tom Joyner and NIKKI Woods, who went on to work with Tom Joyner. I also worked with Steve Harvey. So really had an awesome time getting the experience that I got as in both talk radio and music radio, and later went on to go into television in Chicago. And now I host a podcast called Sisternomics. And I've written a book, and it is called How to Embrace Your Inner Millionaire.
All right.
And I wrote it because when I worked in talk radio at that small Black station, we all worked our butt off in radio, and we would see our colleagues getting these multi-six-figure and seven-figure deals. But at our little radio station, 2 paychecks a month, which, all of us love what we did, and we would have done it, I'm sure, probably for free. But it was like, I knew deep down inside that I was worthy of more than those 2 paychecks a month. And so what I did is I started to really study money and study people, especially who look like us, what they thought about money, what their ideas and beliefs were about money. And it opened up a whole new world for me. Mm-hmm. And I recognized that I had to create a multiple income stream lifestyle. So I leveraged everything I knew about radio, broadcasting, communications, voiceovers. I would do commercials, and they wasn't paying me for those commercials I was doing. Mm-hmm. So I eventually started getting paid for voiceovers, helping people get publicity, doing media training, and I created my own economy. So those 2 paychecks a month went to more like 5, 6, 7, unlimited potential. And later I went on from radio and TV to become a coach, and now I work with women, helping them make more money, save more money, and create their own economies. So that's
very good.
Awesome.
This is a dynamic group. What?
Yes.
I love it. Tambra.
That is awesome. Hey guys, I listen to everyone, and this is amazing. Thank you really, Felicia, for having me. Honestly,
thank you.
I am currently the on-air personality, midday personality in Jackson, Mississippi, for 97.7 The Beat of the Capital. I've actually been with this particular station for 10 years now. I've been here for 10 years. I love my station. I started interning, literally, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I thought, long time ago, I thought I wanted to do corporate America. Totally not what I wanted to do. When I was working on my MBA degree is actually when I interned at a radio station. And when I interned at a radio station, I absolutely loved it. Started doing local television. From local television to, I started writing for allhiphop.com, just writing for doing a lot of interviews, just getting my name out there. Ended up leaving Jackson, going to pretty much Atlanta, 107.9, and started internship there. As soon as I did that, I had the Heritage Station call me back here, and I started doing entertainment news there. And then from doing entertainment news there, actually new owners were coming in for the competition station. So that's how I ended up leaving there, coming to the station that I'm with now. And I think it was one of the best decisions in my life, because I literally followed my passion, and my passion was entertainment. It really was. So I'm really someone who absolutely followed what I absolutely love to do. And that's entertainment and talking to people and just entertaining people. I absolutely love it. So it's been a great journey. I would totally say that. Even my book, the title of my book is Surrounded by Sin, Grounded by Love. 8 Simple Keys to Becoming a Better You. And I know all of us can relate. For me, I know I grew up sitting on the front row of the church. So when I say surrounded by sin, I mean literally from the entertainment industry, I have been surrounded by sin, but I've always stayed grounded by love with my morals, my values, and everything. And that's something that has never been taken away from me. And then as this industry, working in the industry, I grew up, I learned to be a better person. And that comes from just interacting with other people that you meet in the industry. Other people like you women that are dynamic. I'm listening to everyone's story. Even Angela said she started in 87. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, what were you, 10? I love this, because honestly, Felicia, I'm going to be so honest with you. I didn't have this. I did not have this level of actually getting with other female radio personality. So this actually means a lot. So I definitely appreciate it.
Wonderful.
Hey Felicia, can I just piggyback? Can I piggyback to her real quick?
Absolutely.
Because something that she just said, you know, for me getting into the game, I never had a woman who wanted to help me, ever. It was always
that's like crazy.
Never. It was always the men that were reaching out saying, "Let me show you." And then it was the women. I guess they were looking like, I guess she want my job. Look, I don't know. And I always said that when I got in, I would always reach back to the ones who want the help. Okay, to help bring them along the way. So you know, you just saying that, just you know,
Can I share on piggyback on some of that?
Absolutely, Frankie. Yes.
So Sandy Mallory, who is one of
Sandy
the baddest voices. You guys know Sandy.
Out of Baltimore?
I'm sorry?
Out of Baltimore?
Out of Baltimore. She worked in Baltimore.
With the dreads?
Yes, with the dreads, honey.
Oh my God, I love her.
And let me tell you, Sandy was working at V in Baltimore at the time. Yep. She was teaching part-time at the university. And I took her class. It was one of the first classes I had taken, and you had to go through her class to get an air shift at the radio station. And we were a non-commercial FM, and it could be heard all over the city. And I remember talking to Sandy and saying, you know, hey, I'm going on the air tonight. I was a hot mess. And this was when we had carts and whatnot. They sat on top of the board. I hit it and fell on the floor. The cart was on the floor, rolling around. And I was a wreck. But I remember answering the request line because we had to, at the time, fill out what people were requesting and fill out and write it down. And I answered the phone and she said, Frankie, this is Sandy Mallory. Now, Sandy was huge.
Yeah,
this was the mid 80s. And she was huge. She called on the request line and said, Frankie, I got my ears on. And I said, oh, Miss Mallory, I'm making a mess. She said, no, just take your time.
Take your time.
She said, do you. Write down your breaks and you're sounding great. I never forgot that she took out that time to listen and call me. So when I ended up being the APD for Michael Saunders at WPEG in Charlotte, the very first article that I did for BWIR, I remember Sidney Miller did the interview and he said, who would you really give credit to pouring into you? And I said, Sandy Mallory. Wasn't no cell phones, wasn't no internet at that time. You had to read it in the Jack the Rapper magazine or BWIR.
That's right.
And I said, Sandy Mallory at V in Baltimore. I'll just say this really quickly. She called me at the radio station at PEG and said, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. And said that. I said, well, I just want to send you something. I want to do something. And she said, all you have to do is embrace another sister on her way up. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, that's the best thank you that you could give me. So last year at homecoming, she's back at WEA in Baltimore. I went to homecoming, went by there, she's sitting there, and thank God I had an opportunity to walk up to her, remind her of that story. She remembered, and now 30 years later, I'm saying to her again, physically, thank you, because what she did that night, she didn't have to do. And I think all of us can probably have a story about some of the greatest relationships I've had and the greatest contracts I've had came from men in the business and not some of the women who had the opportunity to pick us up. But with that said, you know, I always try and network, whether they're male or female, but young women in particular, because Sandy did that to me. I just wanted to be able to do the same thing. So I can attest that Sandy Mallory was that person for me.
Tell Sandy Mallory I said hello, okay?
I will.
Please. And
I will.
Yeah, tell her I said, hey. Yeah.
Oh, that is so terrific. And that's one reason why we really established this relationship, this community now. It's a huge network now because we've got even people in London and Ghana and Bermuda and now Puerto Rico. Monique's in Puerto Rico. So this is just fantastic. This wraps up part one, us getting to know each other. I want you to think about, do you think Black women are misunderstood in media?
Hell yeah.
And then how are you contributing to the narrative? Black Women in Radio presents the Author Summit, a group of Black women in radio with a story to tell. We know all too well how difficult it is and how brave enough you have to be in order to become an author and then be taken seriously. Black Women in Radio is creating pathways for professional women just like you. When you love what we do, join us. Log on to www.blackwomeninradio.com and click on Join BWIR. If you're an author, don't hold it in, let us know. The Black Women in Radio Summit, it's the first of its kind to showcase professional broadcasters like you with a story to tell. When you love what we do, join us. Go to www.blackwomeninradio.com and click on Join BWIR. Misunderstood, and how are you contributing to the narrative to change?
Well, I'm just myself, and I'm going to say what I want to say.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Early on in my career, something happened, and I said, well, y'all didn't go down the hall to the other radio station with the white dude down there, and he's down there expressing himself. I don't hear nobody down there yelling at him about what he said and how he feel and what he's saying to these listeners. That stopped that right there for me. And what I decided to do moving on in my career was, you know what, I got to have this stuff in writing too, and put in my contract that I'm able to have creative control, and I should be able to speak what is on Sasha's mind without being spanked to death by corporate, the managers that was overseeing the show on my case. So I had that written in, but they did say I couldn't say certain things, like certain cuss words. Don't be saying them cuss words, Sasha. Don't be talking about the president, okay? So I had it written in. So I've been kind of fortunate and free to say some things. I've had some battles with management on some of the things that I have said. And even today, sometimes I'll say things, and Rick be like, Sasha, I'll be like, what? This is how I feel. I'm not speaking for everybody else. I'm just speaking for me. And I'm not mad at how other people feel. But the only thing I don't like is this angry, bitter, Black woman. That is just not who we are. We just have opinions. And if I'm passionate about it and you have to put those words behind it, that's because you fear me. Okay? That's all.
Bottom line, it really is. And to piggyback on what you're talking about, I have spent most of my career being mandated about how much I can say, stick to the liners. You don't have an opinion or thought, even doing morning shows. And so the bulk of my career has been doing morning shows, and people still have their, elbow on what you can say and how you can say it and how much time you can spend on it. So I totally
sorry, Felicia.
I know, and here's the thing. I didn't have anybody to tell me, hey, you can add that into your contract.
That's the thing.
You're learning from other women. I think this is awesome.
No,
that's what I was telling y'all. The guy who helped me was Randy Dennis, and he was the one who selected me to do mornings with him. He was like, that girl don't have no morning experience, but she got that hustle and drive. So he had 25 years behind him, and he fed me so much information, and I sucked it all in, like about contracts. He was the one who put me under his contract to do mornings to make sure I was paid the right amount of money.
That's
he did not want me to be treated wrong. So I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Oh yeah. So I got it from him. So I've been able to take that throughout my career, and even today, things are written in that contract to protect me.
That's huge. I didn't know anything about contracts. So I had the gig, and I had all of the, everything else that I needed, but I didn't know business. Did not. So I got taken advantage of for 25 years.
That's the thing. So that's why I'm so glad Sasha is here, because like that piece right there, Sasha, you could, I don't know if you've done this before, but you could literally do a master class.
I do.
On the whole contract negotiation piece, because I think that's one of the pieces that we're missing, in addition to the fact that people always see women as the sidekick. I like the fact that Sasha, because I watched you all's dynamic, because Rick and I are friends, and when you all were starting the promotion and stuff, it wasn't like Rick is the main, thing, and Sasha is the side. It was like they are equals, and that to me was so powerful. Like, I didn't even know you, but I saw that in you. I saw you on the Yanla. And then when I saw you and Rick together, I really watched it, and I love and respect the fact that it wasn't Rick and Sasha is the sidekick. It was like, these are equal counterparts here. So that to me is powerful. And I want to thank you for standing in your power, because you have no idea that you affected me like that. And for me to be telling you this right now is meaningful for me, because that is powerful.
Well, let me tell y'all, I'm the one who made the phone call to Rick Party to do syndication.
Oh, girl.
Yeah, it was me. Because I was tired and I was getting bored where I was. The money is cool, but it just wasn't enough. And I was ready to grow more in my career. And after talking to someone who was in syndication for all the years and get ready to retire without saying his name, he gave me some nuggets on some of the stuff that I needed to do to make it happen. And he said, you need to find a partner to do this with. And it was 3 names, and Rick Party was one of the names. And I made a phone call to Rick Party and asked him, did he want to do syndicated radio? That's how that happened. And I was very clear that the show was 50-50.
That's right.
We're going to make the same amount of money. It is called Rick and Sasha, or Sasha and Rick. You make half the decisions, I make half the decisions. If I don't like it, it ain't happening. If you don't like it, it's not happening. Because if it did not happen that way, I wasn't going to walk away from having my own show, being very successful, to walk into being underneath of a dude. And and what you just said, Monique, that's all I saw. I saw the Tom Joyners, the Ricky Smiley, the Steve Harvey. Where's the girls? That's what I'm saying. What I used to say, I'm not your hee ha ha girl. Oh, I would say it in meetings, I'm not here to that's bullshit. I have an opinion, okay? I was saying that in meetings because I was not joking about that.
But you know what else? I got to say this too, just to piggyback, and then I'll be quiet. But in addition to that, the fact that, when you bring together 2 people, you got to really find that flow, right? But what I love, because I know Rick, who is a generous and selfless person, like he comes from straight up right here, right? And Rick, I can be like, Rick, can you give me some advice on this? Can you help me with that? He'd be like, absolutely, no problem. So the fact that you are so generous with the wisdom, and you connected with another person that's a generous from the heart kind of person, what y'all show is going to continue to thrive and grow and be successful. So kudos to you again for just like, that's a good match.
I do understand we have our moments and we fight. Okay, I'm just yes.
Like every relationship, of course.
And let me come on. You know what? I was going to say that what I've noticed and experienced is that they tend to not believe that women can lead with grace, intelligence, wisdom. It has to be, like you said, the ha ha ha, or a catch-all, or a not side piece, but sidekick situation, and not to be able to actually stand on our own. And I want to make a comment in reference to the contract situation. And I'm sure everybody on here has experienced this in some type of way, that contracts are always in the favor of the company. And that's the piece that, if we don't know, we're early on into this, we're green to
just
it.
Happy to sign.
Right, just happy to sign. It's never in favor of the creative, the host, the artist. It's always in favor of the person who's submitting the contract. And that's the part that's, it's like, wait a minute. So you getting 97% of this, and I only get
but you have to make a decision too that when you bring your attorneys in and you're doing this contract,
that's right.
what you're willing to say, okay, I'm willing to do this, but hey, are you willing to do this for me?
Right.
Yep.
And you not be afraid to ask for it.
Right.
Because many of us are afraid.
They don't think that we see that part of it. They know it's not in favor of us. So, it, you know, just like you said, they'll sign it. They're just happy to be on air, or, you know, to be a part, and not knowing, like I said, leading with wisdom and grace.
When you're 26 years old coming into this game, like I was, the youngest midday talk show host in this whole city, I had no idea. I didn't have an attorney. I knew nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, let me, you know, it was Steve Hegwood and Elroy Smith during that Chicago time when they were doing the Turntable Brothers in Chicago. Steve Hegwood came up with the Turntable Sisters, Janet G and I, in Detroit. He and Elroy were on the phone on a regular basis. And, you know, one of the things I didn't want to do when I started in '84 was I didn't want to be, you had to either be middays, you had to have a knot, you had to have a sexy name, you had to be the cute sha kind of, you know what I'm saying? You had to have that. You know, I sang first tenor in Morgan State University's choir. So I've always had a deep voice. So that was never me. So as I went through the industry, I had to negotiate as a solo person. And I really didn't know until after about 10 years that I had to recognize what my value and my worth was going to be. And once I did that, not that I came to work on time and I was at all of the promotions, but understanding the revenue you generate for the radio station, month to month, year to year, quarter to quarter, it's the numbers that they care about. So when I go in, even today, to negotiate a contract, it's what does the data say? Right. And a contract is just not what you ask for, it's what you negotiate. And here's the key: when you get to the point in your career where you recognize and be willing, I don't say this is the number that I want, you know, and say I want you to go higher or go lower. Be real clear. This is the number that I want. And you have to be willing to ask yourself, am I willing to walk away for that? But I'm in that place, you know, early on I did that too. But at some point, you know, now, especially with the access we have, to really know when you're walking into a situation, what you're going to negotiate, how much you're going to negotiate, and what you're willing to walk away from. So the contracts at this point are written, and I would agree with the sister who said it's about them. But see, this is their job. The key for me is I negotiate my out. So if you want your job done, you can do that. But here's what it's going to cost you when you do that. You know what I'm saying? Because really it's a numbers game. And now, you know, with PPM and the way that we do radio today, and there's no diary, we don't live in the diary world. It's really about the revenue that you can generate. And it's really about how month to month and year to year you are improving the opportunity to make your value to the company financially worth it.
And you have to bring that value too.
That's a really good point. You have to know what your value is.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, in my opinion, I wouldn't be negotiating a daggone thing because you sitting in the room telling me I'm not worth this amount of money. See, it becomes too personal. I would always suggest having an agent, a lawyer, your manager, somebody to do that for you, to take the emotion out of it. But it's so many things that you can negotiate with your promotions and your endorsements and revenue shares. So you can get the money, but you just got to be smart about it and know your worth and know what you're going to bring to the table. When I was at KISS under Cox, I was the personality through the company that generated the most in endorsements. Oh, I knew my value
because you knew how to hustle. You knew
but that's another thing.
The business,
the hustle.
Yeah, and you knew the business, and a lot of us were just happy to be on the radio. I remember there was, I think, my third morning show. I won't mention the co-host's name, but he was such a clown, and I was about business. I really wanted, to look good and have a structure. And I remember the program director, I almost said his name, asked, well, how did the meeting go? And I was like, so-and-so goofed off the whole time. We don't have a morning show. We don't have a concept. We don't have anything. So the head VP came in and said, you know what, I want to switch the morning show. I want you to be more like Robin Quivers. Now, I love Robin. She's a sister, Black woman in radio, but that wasn't my value. My value was not, I'm going to sit and watch this person act a fool and I'm going to agree. I'm not doing that. So, of course, my time was limited. That morning show lasted, I think, 4 months, and I was off. Yeah. But in terms of business, that's one reason why we're so misunderstood, is because we know that we're worth more, but we don't know the language of business to get more. And so people assume, oh, they just want to be on the radio. Oh, she just wants to look cute and do, whatever. And we get taken advantage of. How else are we misunderstood, especially in media? What are your thoughts about that?
See, Felicia, I don't think we're misunderstood.
Okay.
Right?
Okay,
So
well, tell me your concept.
I think of being misunderstood, I think they're real clear about who we are and the threat of who we are. The question is, do we know who we are and how we have to navigate every situation? I'm clearly not misunderstood. They're real clear about who I am, what I bring to the table, and what I will expect. And it's how you and here's the other thing I just want to say, especially to the young sister who is on, a lot of people only meet people within the sphere of who they see every day. I know my PD, I know my urban director, I know the regional vice president, I know the senior vice president. And when they come to the radio station, I make it my business to introduce myself. When they send out an email, and I'll respond to the email. It's really about networking beyond just who you see every day and building relationships outside of just that piece of that sphere. So the key becomes, I don't think that, there are clearly the isms out there of who they say they want to say Black women are, but we're not misunderstood. They know that we're dynamic. The question becomes whether they are ready to accept that dynamism and how you're going to strategically navigate around those people around you to get what it is that you want. And let's give you real clear. For me, I know that some of the greatest challenges I had in the industry has been navigating around some of the women I work with. Let's be clear about that. Okay? So the question became, what is it that I wanted to do and how, and everything that crosses my mind don't need to cross my lips, even though there are times I wanted it to. I had to be strategic about it.
Right? Smart, that's right.
Right. And I just want to commend the sister who wrote the book about becoming the millionaire. And I know I want to reach out to her as well, because outside of what somebody giving me a paycheck, I had to take the years of the brand that I built and figure out how I could now turn that brand into multiple streams of income that I could control. And
well, unlike most of you, I didn't have many challenges with women. Mine have been with insecure men. And that was the challenge that I had with the last job that I had. I worked with the man.
What's his name?
He was the program director, and he didn't have a whole lot of radio experience. And clearly, from the beginning, he was very threatened by my amount of experience that he had, and his way of showing that, well, it was clear that he was just very insecure in his position and just in general. But when it came to me, because I was somebody who had so much experience and had worked at so many places, and his experience was very limited. He came from a record promotions background. It made it very difficult for us to work together, because anytime I came to him, if I tried to help him because there was things that he didn't know, and I would try to say, you know what, you should do this way. Every idea I gave him, anytime I tried to tell him something, he was constantly shooting me down or doing little just petty things kind of behind my back. So the last straw was, he said, you know what, I'm just going to get rid of Angela. Why don't I just eliminate Angela? But it was just a constant struggle just trying to work there with him because of his own insecurity. And it's difficult working with a man who's very insecure, especially one who's supposed to be in power. And if you haven't had that challenge, it's something to deal with. It's really something to deal with. It's different when you work with women. I understand the dynamic that women have. I know how we can be with each other. But I'm saying when you work with a man who's supposed to be in a position of power and he doesn't own that power because he doesn't have the experience or the respect that kind of goes with it, it makes it very difficult if you are somebody who has experience or you know what you're doing to be able to work with them because of that constant threat that they feel. So that was my experience. That was what I went through.
Well, I experienced a lot of that too, which is one reason why I wrote my book. It took me 11 years to write Brave Leap to Freedom. And
so, Felicia, you experienced it with men or women?
Both.
Okay.
But what I found, the interesting common denominator was me. And what I noticed in my self-assessment was that I was giving my power away. Is that I came from a very religious background, Pentecostal, you know, there was strong right and strong wrong. There was, you know, you really didn't have a whole lot of power, especially as a woman, and not having a father. So I didn't get that backbone, you know, that I didn't learn that early on. So to me, power meant my supervisors, my bosses. And so therefore I fell into pockets of lessons that I wouldn't necessarily have had to learn if I knew my power, which to your point, Frankie, just like you said, it is not necessarily that we're misunderstood. The misunderstanding really comes from within. Do we really know ourselves? And I tell you what, once we figure that out, powerful.
Well, I know myself, child.
Yes. Yes.
Like, I'm listening to you guys' stories, if you don't mind me saying.
No.
Okay, so I will be honest. I'm the only female at my station. There's not another female in the building.
That's wow.
I am. And the guys that I work for, who owns our company, we're independently owned. We're owned by 2 African-American brothers. And so and I will say this, when Sasha was talking earlier, she said, I will honestly say this, my very first time that I interned at a radio station, literally, you know how you're excited? I was excited when I learned that I had the internship with the program director. We had a midday personality here. I absolutely love this lady. I listen to her every day. All the time, like I looked up to her. And this is probably like, I think it may have something to do with me to this day, but I looked up to her. I listened to her. Like I was excited about working with her. So literally I remember like yesterday, because like it happened. It's a story for me. And I was so excited when he said, you have the internship. I remember him walking me into the radio station, into the studio with her, where she's doing her midday show. She has like a dynamic voice. Always loved her. I was so excited. He introduced me to her, and I'm like, I'm going to learn from the best. I remember just being in that moment. And keep in mind, you know, I'm in college. I'm a teenager. And as soon as he closed the door,
she was your greatest disappointment.
In her. Let me tell you, she looked at me and she was like, I don't know why they brought you in here. I don't even do no interns. She didn't say nothing else to me, period. Oh, wow. That was my first introduction to another Black woman in radio. Wow. That was my intro. Wow. Like, seriously. But I always remember what Sasha said. I always remember, I said I would never, because of the way I felt, I said I would never want to treat anyone, any female intern that needs my help, I would never want to make anyone feel the way that I felt. And true enough, later, she warmed up to me. She did. In her defense, she warmed up to me because I came in every day, whatever I needed to do, because I loved it. Whatever I need to do, look up her entertainment news, she did warm up to me. But here's the thing, years later, we had an opening for weekends at the station that I'm at right now. And the program director had to come in there and ask me, are you okay? Because she applied. Are you okay with her actually coming on board on weekends? Oh, you never burn bridges because you never know who you have to run into again. Yeah. And for me as a woman, I know how I felt. I would never, ever do that. And so I'm like, I had no problem whatsoever.
Did you let her come back?
I know, right? I was open to it, Sasha. I'm just gonna be honest. I was like, you know what? Because that's how I get my blessings. I get my blessings like, you know what? I like, hey, I would never do anyone like they really did me. I gotta be better than that, you know? But in her defense, you know, later on, She warmed up to me, but that was my first introduction just to another Black woman in radio.
I will tell you this though, Tambra. I, you know, when I get interns, I'm very selective and I'm very tough. And I just let them know that you got 3 strikes with me. You don't know more than me, but I'm going to give you everything. If your ass is laid in here, I'm not you're not taking it serious. You're not going to get on this microphone because it's millions of dollars every time I open up this microphone. But I'm going to love you and I'm going to teach you. And then I determine day by day, and I take them everywhere I go. I mean, it could be a promotion. I've taken them on trips with me, but I watch you. I watch you. And if I say, go get me a damn cup of coffee and you don't want to get a cup of coffee for me, then you're not even doing and it's not about you getting me the coffee. It's just about, are you willing to make those sacrifices to do what you have? I'm in there working my butt off and I'm just saying, hey, boo, can you do me a favor? Can you get a cup of coffee? If you throw your nose up like you too good to do that, or you too good to run, go get the paper, then that's a problem for me. So I was really tough with my girls, but they went on to do fabulous things.
Because that's what you did, Sasha.
Absolutely.
Right, that's what you did.
But these millennials now, oh my God, you got to pay them and they don't want to do this. I don't want to be around you, child. I got the coins. You trying to get them.
Let me ask this, ladies. You know what? We really deserve a weekend, a retreat to do this. So I'm going to put it in the atmosphere that is what we will do next time we have a forum like this, that we'll be able to enjoy a wonderful location and great food and really get to network.
That's how you Puerto Rico really needs to have too. It needs to be. I'm not a part of. I'm not a member. Well, I guess I will be now. I mean, anytime you need me, Felicia, I'm here.
You're always there.
But we need more women, and we need to be supportive of the situations that many women are in right now and don't know what to do. Situations of dealing with maybe a dude at work is treating her like shit, all right? Or a manager, and you think you stuck and there's nothing that you can say or do. No, boo-boo, nope. There's a lot that you can do. And this kind of support and network would be really cool. And I'm not saying that's what's happening across the board.
It is exactly why we're in position. So yes,
we got to help. We got to help each other. And if something's happening, they need a sense, hey, this is what's going on. I need some help. What do I do? And we need to be able to jump in.
Yes.
Okay. And be the Black Sister Panthers. Okay. And go save them.
Exactly.
That's the whole premise behind Black Women in Radio and behind all of the work that Felicia and I have done in putting this together, is because that was one of the things that we really wanted to do, is make sure that we are acknowledging and celebrating the contributions that we have all made, because for so long women have been overlooked and, like you said, just seen as just a little sidekick, is just a little somebody to go get the coffee or just be there to just laugh at the jokes. No, we're way more than that. Yes. And so that is the whole premise behind why Black Women in Radio exists, so that we can have this network and we can have these conversations with each other and be there to support each other. That's the whole premise behind what we do.
Absolutely.
I applaud y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. This is so exciting. So Black Women in Radio is global. We are global. And so with that network in place, having so many great minds in one place, there shouldn't be anything that we need or ask for that cannot be produced from this network. So my baby is promoting. I love promoting. That's why this summit is going to look like it just came out of 4 seasons.
And she's so good at it. She's so good at it.
So you get the credit and you get the promotions, and sometimes some of us are too busy. Sometimes we're just too frustrated, and let's get to the business at writing a book and being an author. You're too frustrated, or don't have the funds to do it. Joining an organization like this gets us out extra on top of what you're doing, and just like a forum like now, who has sold a book in the last 4 months? I haven't, because I haven't been out. You have good for you guys.
But actually, Felicia, my book sales went up during the pandemic.
Yep. So
yeah. How about that? But did you advertise? Did you advertise during?
Well, I was still on the radio, so I'm pushing my stuff.
Right, you're pushing
social media.
I think because people were at home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so were you were advertising though? Sasha said she advertised.
Social media.
Yep.
Social media.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, quite honestly, guys, I've been so busy doing Black Women in Radio. My little 2-minute manager page looks like this. Black Women in Radio is like, top damn dog.
But honestly, like when the pandemic hit, like March. Well, okay, so like let me be honest now. Well, okay, February I did Sister Circle TV. That my book sales were great. March, right when the pandemic hit, March, April, May for me, they were very good because people were literally at home and the world kind of like shut down in March and April. Right. So like he said,
a lot of online purchasing.
Every time I post about my book on social media, people were going to buy because people were at home.
Yeah, paying attention.
Who else is advertising? Anyone else advertising?
I do.
So it's a nice balance.
But you do have the balance. I mean, you could do your social network and whatever your platform allows you to do, and do those cute little Facebook ads. I mean, you can determine what you want to spend a day to push it out to the demo that you want to push it out to,
right.
And you can pick up sales that way. I mean, I've done really good, so I'm not complaining. I mean,
yeah.
It's great when you have a media platform. So when you know your power and you know your strength, you have your media platform, you have your book, you can push those things and also push yourself as a master. Now that's something else that Black Women in Radio will do just for the members. We'll have master classes. So we'll be able to draw expertise from everybody. Anyone who has something valid, of value that they want to teach, they'll be able to do that. Will it be free? No. It's going to be a la carte because my thought is there are more of us unemployed than not. So why not create a platform where you can receive some kind of revenue for being who you are? So as a master class presenter, you charge $99 for your master class on Black Women in Radio, then you're making some revenue. That's a membership. You see what I'm saying? So that's the kind of thing that I want to see us build.
Monique, you said something earlier that I think that anybody getting in radio should do. And I was taught this early, having other streams of income. And that first time I was making so much money, I was like, blowing it. Like, you know what I mean? Just blowing your money.
Yeah.
And, it took my father saying, girl, what is wrong with you? Say, okay, let me get into real estate. I'm really into the hair industry. Let me go ahead and open up some salons. Yeah, I like being in the clubs, getting my life. So let me go ahead and open up my nightclub. You have got to take your money and invest your money in yourself and your brand to create additional income. Because because you don't own the radio station, okay? But the day that they say that they don't want your services anymore, you need to be able to continue your lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Monique, that was great that you brought that up.
Can I add to what Tracy said? But the other side of that is as you build that multiple streams of income, to almost be careful about how you do that, because not every company wants to see you do that.
You don't tell them what you do.
Right. So
and it's a little difficult when you wrote a whole play, Frankie.
I'm sorry. What did you say?
I said it's a little difficult when you wrote a whole play to be quiet about it. It's like, Frankie presents.
But you know what though? I've actually owned a production company for 10 years, right? Yeah. So when I moved to Philly, I was actually still producing in Detroit. And then when I started producing in Philadelphia, I was able to have my team in Philadelphia and do that. See, the key is that everybody ain't supposed to know what your dreams are, right? Too often, you got to be careful of who you share your dreams with.
Yes, honey.
Right? And you just have to do what you have to do. You have to do what you have to do. And once you get it up and going, because see, for some, I think the sister who said her issue was the guy who felt threatened by what she was doing.
Right.
Some people will be threatened by you because they ain't you. You ain't supposed to advertise all that. You just got to do what you have to do, right? And be careful outside of that. And then, of course, we talked about contracts. In your contract, what you will be allowed to do outside, because a lot of times they don't want you
that's
to do
right. You
anything
have
other
to
than what
write
they
that
do.
in. Right.
Right. So I had my company and all that other kind of stuff written in, and when it came to buying advertisement, I had my AE and this and that. But see, a lot of folk will come see what you do and say, "Oh, she made too much money."
They counting your money.
They count your money.
Like you asked them.
Yep, they count your money, and they're mad that you're making money.
So you
But
got to be
you know what?
strategic about it and just do what you do. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right.
Well, ladies, we are wrapping up session 2. This is happening
Already?
so fast. I know.
We talk a lot about Black Girl Magic, but I think if we really put it more in action, you know what I mean? Like in terms of helping one another across the board, I really think that we could be better than or greater than we ever imagined.
Everybody doesn't want to be a leader, you know what I'm saying? But even if they don't, I think giving them the tools that they, that they need to be great in whatever they want to do.
Just about Black Women in Radio, that Instagram page is so awesome, because sometimes you just want to be recognized. Like, one time, can somebody say good job? It highlights the Dee and the Kendras, but it also highlights the Ninas and the Pages. Like, I appreciate that so much.
It's something much bigger than your mind can even imagine.
We're back for part 3. This has been so fabulous. I'm in my socializing voice. I so miss it. I am such an introvert, but I'm learning I'm more of an extrovert than ever, because I miss people. I miss being around people. I miss the energy. So this is my little pacifier. So thanks for that. What we want to do is wrap up our part 2 really quickly. Are there any other thoughts that you have about whether or not Black women are misunderstood? Any other thoughts?
Okay.
Yeah, you will be if we don't do the conference in Puerto Rico.
Yes, we're going to do the conference in Puerto Rico. We certainly are. That's the perfect place to do it, too. I love it. I'm all about traveling, girl.
Yeah,
After this dang COVID is gone. Anyway, anybody have...
I wanted to add to, I think what a lot of everyone said about knowing our worth, I think is the foundational piece to, like, when new interns come in, when we connect with others, the things we deal with maybe an insecure boss or coworker, and us being misunderstood as Black women in radio and beyond, that worth piece, it allows us to go beyond and become the millionaires and having multiple streams of income and our voice being heard and not being afraid of that. I think that's like the foundational part of us knowing, which was mentioned. Not saying that they don't know who we are, but do we know who we are? I think like that, us connecting more on that and sharing stories and being transparent, because then when you hear other people's stories, it's like, okay, so you went through that as well, and not just in the industry, but just in life, because it allows you not to cower down and feeling embarrassed, with what you went through. It's like, you know what, she went through that as well, just like I did. Some people may not be open to sharing things, but women like ourselves, we are. I think that helps to build the strength within us first, which helps to build the net worth amongst everybody.
And our communities, and our city, and this brand new world that we're going to be living in, because as we speak, things are changing, systems are breaking, things that we knew as normal and comfortable, we don't have that to draw on anymore. And that's really, and I want us to talk about our books now, that's really the premise of Brave Leap to Freedom. My book is talking about the essence of who you are And then when you feel confident in who you are, that will convey, that will translate into your relationships, both personal relationships and, you know, your business relationships. People will know the essence of who you are. So I think that a lot of us walk around with guards up because we're used to being taken advantage of, or being misunderstood, or we're afraid that if you win, I lose. And that is not the essence of who we are. We were born brilliant, beautiful human beings with much, much love in our hearts. But from birth until 12 years old, a lot has happened. If you didn't receive that nurturing, loving family unit, then you grow to become an adult that is afraid that, you know, you're not enough, or that someone will take something from you. So I think in this time, we're getting back to the basics. We're getting back to appreciating who we are. We're getting back to the values of the networks and relationships that we build. It's of value now, not, you know, oh yeah, it's just a friend, like social media. Yeah, I've got 2,000 friends. Yeah, well, how many really know you? Who knows your middle name, you know? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that. Changing the narrative. How have you changed the narrative with your book?
Excuse me.
Because everybody has a story. Everybody felt like they needed to convey a piece of them to the public.
I could start.
So that's a part of changing the narrative. Yes.
Well, my book is called, as I said, Own Your Moment and Take the Stage. And what that means is holding yourself accountable first, you accountable before you launch out on any stage, whether that's in the industry you're trying to go into, in life, because you're on a stage, a platform where people see you, but we don't like to hold ourselves accountable first. You know, we'll do, and that's a growing process, but we don't want to look at ourselves in the mirror to see who that person really is. And then when you're on that stage, we all know, we've all been on stages, people are telling you what they see, but oh, that's not me. I don't do that. I don't act like that. And some of it's true, some of it's not. But basically laying the foundation first. And that's what it means, owning those moments first, figuring out who you are in stages. And that's not going to happen all overnight. But that's the foundation of this. But I branch out into explaining how to lay the foundation for a successful music career. But the narrative that was told was my story. So starting from when I was 7, 8 years old, wanting to work in the music industry, not knowing where that came from. I always knew and wanted to be the person behind the scenes, making it happen, putting it together. And I wanted to become a music producer at 7 or 8, and like 10 or 12 years old, starting a music production company. You know, admiring Berry Gordy, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, and before the Motown era, Jimi Kendricks. I'm not Jimi Kendricks. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry.
Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix, and just so many other people. And not knowing, like I said, where they came from. They came from my father wanting to be a music producer. And you know how things are passed down. But my story of the journey of wanting to do these things, being told, no, that's not a real job. I'm sure you all have heard these same narrative statements being told to you. You need to get a 9 to 5 or pursue something that's not just a dream in your head. But me owning who I was and not taking on what people were telling me and still navigating through, as we know, the entertainment industry that wasn't in the newspaper. You can't find those jobs, newspaper, or you have to know somebody. You got to hustle. You got to get out there and promote before I took the stage. So the steps that I took, whether it was unconscious, conscious, subconscious, but things that I learned over time before I actually entered into the entertainment industry as a whole. So I pretty much break down from my journey and giving steps of the important steps so you can be successful while entering in an industry like this. And that's the book.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thanks so much. Who's next to present their book and how they're changing the narrative as we know it?
I'll go.
Oh, okay, you go ahead.
Well, let me say my internet connection is very stable, so I apologize if it cuts off. It keeps going in and out, so I hope that it doesn't go out. My book is called Unnecessary Roughness, The Story of a Mother's Fight for Justice. Those are my two little girls. They were 9 in this picture. They're 19 now. My book is based on a true story. When my girls were 9 years old, they were in the Girl Scouts. They had to do something called a Family Heritage Project. And they did their project on our family's involvement in the Civil Rights Movement. As a result, they were expelled from their Girl Scout troop after they did their presentation on civil rights. It's an unbelievable story, but it is 100% true. After I met with the Girl Scout troop leaders to find out why this expulsion happened, and they couldn't really give any solid reason except they just thought, oh, they don't want to be in Girl Scouts anymore. But really, the truth of the matter is that they're the only ones who were expelled after doing a family heritage project. So when it became clear that I needed to take legal action, I could not. I think now that God was trying to teach me a lesson, trying to show me something in that. And I wound up representing myself in this case through federal court, the 11th Circuit, the Georgia Supreme Court, and then back to the State Court of Appeals. I did a pretty good job of representing myself. I did have an attorney when the case was in state court, and he lost the case. And are you guys hearing me?
I can hear you. You froze, but we can hear.
You can? Okay. Okay. So I did have an attorney when the case was in state court, and he kind of lost the case because he wasn't completely vested in it. And as a result, that's how I was able to pick the case up and file it myself in federal court. So I wrote the book because each court kept ruling against me for the mistakes that he made, not the ones that I made, but the ones that he made in state court. So that meant I never could get any justice. So I wrote the book kind of as my own therapy, you know, and to kind of tell some of those inner details of the story and nuances that did not come out when the story broke in the media. And then I found out in 2016 that the state of Mississippi, which is where I'm born, that my family, who worked very hard in civil rights, was included in the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum. I reached out to the museum to see if I could get my book added since they had my family in there, and they wanted to know the story about the Girls Project. I told them the story. The long and short of it is that very project that got them kicked out of the Girl Scouts is now archived in the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum. So it is my life's work to get this book made into a movie. So that's really why I haven't promoted it as much. I want to get the book made into a movie. So I want to go back and I need to add because I found out after the book was published about the whole museum piece. I want to get that, get it revised and add that. But that is my life's work to get the story made into a movie, because most people, before they found out about the museum part, thought that it was just remarkable that somebody could make it through 4 jurisdictions by themselves. People who are an attorney have a real respect for that, because they're like, nobody does that who's not an attorney. But I did it, and I only with the grace of God did I do it. But then having that their project, the original project that's written in their handwriting on construction paper, is now archived in the museum. So that's the story, and
congratulations.
Congratulations. This is who I am.
That is wonderful.
I want to play you in the movie.
I love it. You would do a good job of it too, Sasha. I think you could be me all day long.
I love it. Okay, who's next?
That's awesome.
Come on, tell us about your wonderful work.
I'll go.
Okay, Monique.
So my book is, what's the name of my book? How to Embrace Millionaire. And like I said before, it is a book. It's a super short book. It's something that I wrote purposely so that women would be able to pick it up, throw it in their purse, read it quickly on the train on the way to work, or just over a weekend when you got some downtime. And it stems from my money story. You know, growing up, I watched my parents and my family members, all of whom are brilliant. They all worked really hard, came from a really good work ethic, but they always talked about how money was such a struggle for them. Constantly, I heard, I got to rob Peter to pay Paul. I'm trying to make ends meet. And I'm looking at all these brilliant people, and I'm like, why does everybody around me struggle? And lo and behold, I took some of that same story into my adulthood. So here I am working in radio and TV and getting accolades and awards and critical acclaim for all this work I was doing, but it was not showing up in my bank account. So when I finally got to that breaking point, when I went to my station manager, who you Chicago girls will know who she is at WBON, amazing sister. She's still my sister to this day. I went to her to finally ask for a raise after not receiving a pay increase for 4 years, and went through all the protocols. We sat down in the meeting, had, you know, some little small talk, and then we finally got to the place where it was time to talk about the raise. And she politely said to me, Monique, we love you. You're doing a great job, but unfortunately, there's no money here for you to get a raise. And I remember vividly leaving that meeting and walking outside the station into the parking lot, questioning, why is it that I and everybody who works at this station, we do the job of at least 2 to 3 people, but there's no money to pay us. And as I began to study money, I came up with 2 things. I said, number one, I got to have more than one income stream. I can't rely on getting paid twice a month from the radio station, because what they paying me ain't enough anyway. And I'm doing all this other stuff I'm not getting paid for. But I knew that I had to come up with 2 income streams, but I also knew that I had to figure out what was standing between me and my money. It wasn't just that I worked at a Black radio station. It wasn't that I didn't have the right network. You know, I knew I had the right connections. What I found out as I studied and learned more about how money works is that it's the story that I was telling myself that came from what I learned from my mother. And that's what I tell people. Sometimes your mother's beliefs about money might be causing you to be broke or struggling with money right now, and you not even realize it. So the only thing that's standing between women and their money is the story that they tell themselves. And for us as Black women, it's even more unique because we come from a unique experience from the get-go, right? And we know that, I think everybody here, you know, we can all attest to the fact that we came from resourceful women in our family. We've seen people do what they had to do to get it done. And so we know how to do things. We're brilliant, we're strong, and all that. But this idea about money is something that we have to work on for ourselves, and then be able to help other sisters so that they can avoid some of the struggle. I know this is what I want to do, help them avoid the struggles that I had. So the book is all about how to create a story that fits the woman that you are today, so that you can create those income streams, active and passive income streams, so that you can be making money while you sleep, so that you can uncover all that stuff that you picked up from your mother, your grandmother, about money being the root of all evil. That's a lie from the pit of hell. And we got to finally straighten that out, get that straight in our minds, because every single person on here deserves to be a multi-millionaire.
That's right.
Like, just like real talk. Like, everybody here, you want to be able to take care of your parents as they age. You want to make sure your babies can go to college debt-free. You want to make sure that you can give your son or your daughter a start in life. Once they graduate from college, I want my son to have a house, you know, a car, everything he needs. I think that needs to become the norm and the narrative, as opposed to passing this idea of struggle generation after generation. Like, what is
that? Yeah.
No, that's like, we got to get rid of that. So this book it's a short book, obviously. So it's not going to answer all the questions, but unleashing your inner millionaire is dealing with the dollars and cents of who we are and what we do in the story, but also recognizing, and this is important, that embracing your inner millionaire is not just about your bank account. It's about recognizing that, oh my God, we're in the middle of a pandemic and nobody in my family is sick. Like, I'm healthy. I'm 50 years old and I'm in the best health of my entire life. When I was in radio and TV in my 20s and 30s and 40s, I was stressed out and sick. I had chronic diseases. I had my pain all over. But now at 50, I'm in the best health of my life. I live in beautiful Puerto Rico. I can walk out to my garden and pick mangoes off my tree. And even though, I got coconuts growing outside the yard, pineapple
coming over.
Baby, listen. And when I can look outside and see literally what feels sometimes like the Garden of Eden, even though I'm in a very unique money experience right now, because God is taking us through some things so that we can be ready for our next level, I still feel like I'm rich. Like,
yes.
So that's what the book is about. It's the first and what I think is a volume, and that's when I had really long hair, y'all. I had to give you that.
That's all right. I got it for you, girl. Don't worry about it.
I love it.
That's what my book is about. And I got multiple income streams. I spend most of my time now since the pandemic doing voiceovers. And that's how I've been really, just using my voice to create an income doing things that I love right here from home.
Extraordinary, Monique.
That is good.
Extraordinary. See, it's important that we know everybody on this platform because you've got a nugget of wisdom that will help us on our journey. I love that. Okay, who's next?
Can I go? Because I don't want my phone to die.
Yes, no, we don't want your phone to die.
And I'm like, wait, it's not charging though.
Please don't die. Okay. Go ahead.
Yes. So I guess I'm going to tell you, the name of my book, I was telling you guys earlier, it is Surrounded by Sin, Grounded by Love. 8 Simple Keys to Becoming a Better You. So it's kind of like, for me, the main title, Surrounded by Sin, Grounded by Love, it really does come from what I talked about earlier. Just being in the industry. And I don't know everyone's story, but for me, the book even opens up just being around so much in the industry, and for the very first time for me, seen so much. I've never seen, I could literally say, and I'm talking to you guys, I can literally say I've never been around the amount of drugs I've seen taken in the industry. I've never been around that. So I saw things that I was not used to seeing. So that's where Surrounded by Sin comes from. But at the same time, that's kind of like, but I always stayed grounded. Just because I saw it didn't mean I had to participate. It didn't mean I had to, change my morals and values of the way that I was thinking. Because, at that time, I was straight doing not R&B, just straight hip hop. I was doing rap shows, hosting a lot of those things. So for me, I share those things because even when things even came to me, it never means that you had to let your guard down. And I'm proud of that. To me, I think the industry is small. I think it's very small. I think people try you, people test you, and that's a part of the subtitle, 8 Simple Keys to Becoming a Better You. I became a better person. I learned how to not only say no, and be very blunt about my no. Sasha, that's like when you talk about knowing your worth, being able to say no and mean no, and not be feeling guilty about saying no. I've had some people, you'll email them and just avoid saying no, they won't email you back because people are scared to say no. So I literally had to learn that in this industry. That industry taught me that it's okay for you to say no and be blunt about your no and not feel guilty about it. And I don't have to ignore your call if I really don't want to do it. And I can be comfortable in saying no. I learned how to deal with rejection. All rejection is not bad rejection. Sometimes rejection saves your life. It'll change your whole life. So don't be afraid of rejection. I've learned that you talked about, Sasha, just knowing your power. And I also learned how to keep your power. How to stay in power, not let people have so much control over you and your emotions at all. I learned all of these things just growing in the industry, not even just with life, but a lot of things that I was just going through. I learned how to stay within myself, what's true to me, what's most valuable to me. So I learned and I became better. And then in the book, I'm really sharing what I learned. I'm sharing with other people what I learned, how to become a better you and feel comfortable with that and saying that it's okay. I learned whatever you allow, good or bad, it's going to continue. That's the true story. I really learned whatever you allow in your life. And that's just not dealing with the industry, but that's in life, period. It will always continue, whether it's good, whether it's bad. So I've learned a lot just growing, I guess, not just in life, but even in the entertainment industry. But what's most important for me is just always staying grounded. I cannot talk about myself without talking about God. That's just a part of who I am, because I know that's always a part of who kept me grounded. I feel like my parents, I feel like they already prepared me for an industry that I didn't even know that I was going to be in. I really do, because a lot of things that, yeah, you want to do, but you can't. Like, it just goes against the grind. But that's one of the things that I'm proud of. So that's some of the things that I do talk about in the book. I talk about how do you deal with disappointment? How do you deal with no? How do you deal with rejection? And I'm sharing what works for me. And I'm just sharing that with other women and men.
I love it.
Very
We
nice.
are changing the narrative, aren't we? I love it, Tambra. That is awesome.
Thank you. And I thank you guys. Like, this is amazing. I've learned things just by sitting here listening to every one of you. Like, I absolutely. So thank you for having me and just providing this platform. I think this is amazing. One thing I've always say, and I've always used this hashtag, more than a voice on the radio. When you talk about multiple streams of income, and then, like, I believe in that. I always wanted to be more than a voice on the radio. For me, this book is being more than a voice on the radio.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely is. That's awesome. Who's next?
I'll go. All right.
Okay.
So I don't have my book because I'm doing renovations and stuff upstairs.
That's all right. We'll show it right here.
It is called Blended But Not Broken. And it is a woman who ended up falling in love with someone and did not take out the time to give her child and this man an opportunity to get to know each other. It is millions of single mothers out here, single fathers out here taking care of their children. The divorce rate is crazy high. For blended families, it's even worse. What I did was found myself in a situation after I said I do, that I had two men, my husband and my son, at each other. My husband was 6'6". My son at that time was about 6'4", but he was 14, okay? And when you're dealing with a man, you know, a man got another man looking at him at 6'4", he don't see him as a child, all right? My husband was a man too, you know, out in the yard, fixing the car, make sure everything is right in the house. My son was brought up a little bit different. He don't wash no dishes. He's not going to wash no car. He want to take a trip with his mama, okay? So it wasn't equally yoked. And I was more worried about my love that I had, that I just didn't take the time to make sure that they was good. And it became very destructive in my house. You know how you pull up to the pretty house and the car and everything is fabulous, but when you open that door, ain't nothing but damn hell going on. All right. Wow. And it was one day that I found myself in a situation, and my husband got mad at my son because he left something, I don't know. And he took the trash can and put the trash can on his bed.
Wow.
My son lost it. He comes to our bedroom with a bat and stands there with the bat and tells my husband that I'm his mother. This is his house. You don't run nothing. And this is my family. Right then I knew, Lord Jesus. It was a very scary moment for me because I knew that somebody was going to get hurt in this situation. And that's when Iyanla came in to help me with my family. And it was more than just television. We actually had to go through counseling. And through the counseling, we was able to save our marriage. So that was the reason why I decided to write the book. And I didn't realize the effect of the TV show when they told me that we had received over 30,000 emails on blended families. And that story, how it was affecting so many people. So that's why I decided to write the book, to let you know that you might be in this situation, but you can save your family. And just so y'all know, a lot of the problems, it was coming from me. I was the problem. But guess what? I still got my 6'6" boo, and I still have my son. Yeah.
That is a success story, boy. I tell you. Oh my goodness.
Can I
awesome,
come behind
Sasha? Thank
Sasha?
you. Yes.
Wow, what an incredible story. First of all, let me start backward and work my way to what I was going to say. So I do a nourishment and meditation. So I did this. I've got cases of them. I wanted to do it. Everybody's on here from Kim to Charlie Wilson, a bunch of folks. So I do this nourishment every day on my show, and I asked each of them. So I took a collection of about 30 of them and put them on this CD as a nourishment for the soul. This book, which is Frankie Darcell, A Story to Tell. I did this in '99. This book is absolutely retired because when I wrote that book, I had to write some things about my transition from being married to being single. And there were some things that my daughter was uncomfortable about. She was only about 8 or 9 at the time. And my best friend said to me, how are you going to feel when she can actually read, get to it? When she turned 14, she did that. And we had a conversation about why did I put that in the book? And I had to explain to her because that was my story. And in order to tell my truth, I needed to put that there. And I actually found a sense of release by telling my story. And we all have a story to tell, no matter how uncomfortable that is. But I retired that book. But in 2006, I wrote Conversations for Sisters Only. It's a comical yet serious look at the things that we talk about. And in the book, I thought about the conversations that we're having right now. And I think we're even more comfortable because we're in this forum, even though we all just met. But there are some things that I think if we talk more to each other instead of at or about each other, we'll find we have more in common than we have in different. So it addresses all of those conversations that we have, blended families. There's a story in Conversations for Sisters Only about that blended family and the challenges of blended families and who gets to see the kids and who do not get to see the kids. And I love this book because it is a real tabletop conversation about a lot of things that people are uncomfortable about. So a couple of years ago, after doing 7 titles of some stage plays, and we were talking about putting something on the road, my girlfriend said, why are you going to put somebody else's work on the road? Why don't you take a year, write your own stuff, and then put your stuff instead of somebody else's on the road? So I took a long trip somewhere overseas. And as I wrote, I had a writer's block. And I thought, write what you know about. And it's just a life about Black women. And in it, I deal with all kinds of situations from interracial dating to blended families to all of that. And then decided when writing to turn the book into the stage play. Now, this book was written in 2006, just the beginning of COVID. I did a second edition of the book that I actually just got back, and I'm excited about that. And thanks to Jada, I added things like entanglements into the story.
Cheating.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Sasha?
Cheating.
Exactly.
The conversations about, the entanglements to the Black Lives Matter, what that means. And I think for all of us in 50 years, this will be the story that we left the universe in our words. And that's what this is about, to be able to have those conversations of what our conversations are like in 2020. And for my daughter at some point, who will have her conversations with her daughter. And to something Monique said about what our parents taught us, that, just merely by the environment and the time of the things my parents did, my mother didn't talk to me and my sisters about, that I wanted to talk to my daughters about, that she felt more comfortable talking to her daughters about. And everybody that reads this book and saw the stage play, which I thought to mirror the stage play behind the book, I actually sold a whole bunch of them, which was really great. So I mirrored the story behind the book. And moving forward, when we come out of this COVID, I expect to do even better. And so there's some T-shirt merchandising behind that. I'm just waiting for this heifer COVID to get out the way so I can get back to doing what we're doing. But I'm gonna put the back up probably the end of the month and move the book again, just to be able to move the stage play. So some of what Tasha was talking about, it was interesting as I heard that story, because we have real conversation in the book and the stage play about that. And in November, when we did put it on stage, people were leaving saying, wow, I saw me. I didn't know that. It's interesting because people said, do you really think that? I said, this is theater. So it's not me personally, but all of it was me personally. So, you know, thank you again, Felicia, for just this forum, which is so great. And I just want to leave because I don't take for granted. I've lost 7 friends to COVID. And so I know what it's like for that loss, for what we're going through. So I just want to acknowledge to each of you the greatest blessings and success. I don't want to take, you know, not say thank you when I have the opportunity to say thank you and acknowledge people like Verna Green, who is just amazing to me to even have this forum for you to invite me to be here, and Steve and Mike and Derek Corbett and, you know, just Barry Mayo and all of those people. You know, so thanks a lot. I just appreciate it. What better way to spend 3 hours on a Monday? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And thank you so much. Thanks so much to each and every one of you for taking this time out to network and commune and share ideas and learn from each other. I'm going to be very brief with my book because I want to wrap up with your thoughts. But my book is Brave Leap to Freedom, Integrating Mind, Body, Spirit to Cultivate Healthy Relationships. And it's many, many stories in there, short stories about what a toxic relationship looks like, both personal and in business. How we have a veil over our eyes when it comes to what our needs are, and how we sometimes draw back and we don't get our needs met because we're not articulating even to ourselves what those needs are. We feel like we are not supposed to feel a certain way. So for instance, I had, you know, the brand new house built from ground up, driving a Mercedes, had 2 beautiful daughters, married to a guy that, you know, my biological clock was ticking. So I married a nice guy and I was just miserable. I was absolutely miserable. So the fast forward all of that, having an opportunity to teach wellness at Spelman College over 7 years and, you know, travel around the country teaching workshops and seminars about wellness, I got the blessing to learn how to be well in mind, body, and spirit. So that's basically, you know, the premise of the book. But getting back to you guys, oh my gosh, I could hug each and every one of you because this is like, you know, an idea come to life. And when you get an opportunity to see it come to life, do you guys remember the first time you were ever able to hold your book?
Yeah.
What did that feel like? What did that feel like?
Exciting.
Yes.
Exciting.
Were you just like relieved, just like birthing a baby? I mean, it was like, whoa, absolutely. When is this going to be finished? And then even in the editing, right? Did you guys have issues with editing? What was that like for you?
It was fun.
I was cool.
Mine was pretty painless. Yeah, mine was painless.
Well, what I noticed with books is that there's several layers of editing. You know, it's not just editing a book and a paper and then it's done. There's several layers. So it was interesting. This was quite a journey. What can we do, the Black Women in Radio Network Forum, to help you guys in your journey? What can we do? What do you foresee an organization like this being able to help you with?
That's a good question.
It is. I'm sitting up here thinking.
Probably because nobody's ever asked us.
Nobody.
Yeah. I would say doing more things like this.
Yeah.
Creating more opportunities like this for us to network and get to know each other and get to know what each other has to offer and what specialties we all have that we can share with each other. I would say definitely more opportunities just like this.
For sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, you guys think about it, marinate on it, and please let us know because we are the bridge from where you are now to where you want to be. There are multiple streams of income inside of all of us. And with having this Black women behind you, holding you up and pushing you along, there's no reason why you can't accomplish every single thing you set out to do. That's my prayer for Black Women in Radio. So,
I'm excited about getting past COVID when you put the conference together and anything, like I'm sure all of us on the platform that I can do, and I've said that to you, just call on me, hit me up. I'm not a meetings person, but let me know what you need and I'll get it and I'll send it to you. But I would love to just be in the same space with everybody, to watch their presentations and, just to see you ignite, this in a physical space, I think would just be amazing.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
How
Thank you
cool
so
it would be
much.
we could pull all the sisters together and buy some radio stations.
Girl,
The things that we can do when we're together, all of that power. Yes, exactly, Sasha. Exactly. There's no reason why we can't.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for the Black Women in Radio Summit. Woo! Very first one ever.
Yay!
And we are looking forward to being able to promote your books. I did put your information on the Black Women in Radio website, links to mostly Amazon, I saw, but links to sell your book. It will stay there for the rest of 2020 and 2021. So that's our thank you to you.
We talk a lot about Black Girl Magic, but I think if we really put it more in action, you know what I mean? Like in terms of helping one another across the board, I really think that we could be better than or greater than we ever imagined.
Everybody doesn't want to be a leader, you know what I'm saying? But even if they don't, I think giving them the tools that they need to be great in whatever they want to do.
This about Black Women in Radio, that Instagram page is so awesome, because sometimes you just want to be recognized. Like, one time, can somebody say good job? It highlights the Didis and the Kendras, but it also highlights the Ninas and the Pages. Like, I appreciate that so much.
It's something much bigger than your mind can even imagine.